Everyone, I'm Sarah Black. I am FIGT Social Media Manager, and I'm also here today, not just in that capacity, but as someone who is an accompanying spouse and has certainly wrestled with the whole dual career challenge of keeping a job, getting a job, trying to keep some kind of career going with all the global mobility and the relocation challenges. And I am delighted to be here with my good friend Stephanie Ward from Firefly Coaching. We're going to talk a little bit about telling our stories and building relationships in the context of dual career. But Stephanie, first of all, introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about your background and experience.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm so happy to be having this conversation with you. Yeah, so I'm from the U.S., from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and grew up there, and pretty typical, life until I went, I went to university, and then I got a job for 5 years and went back to the university. And after that, I never came back, basically. So I moved to a little place called Houston, Texas.
I'm familiar.
If you know about that. And then to Dallas, and then to Columbus, Ohio. And then I moved here in 1999 because I met this Dutch guy in an Irish pub in Orlando, Florida, and have been here for 20 and a half years now. And yeah, started my business Firefly Coaching in 2002, so 17 years. And I'm helping small business owners with their marketing. So finding a way that they can do marketing that feels comfortable for them, not something that goes against whatever they feel is like a good fit, so that they will actually do it, so they can have a business that supports them, and they can make a living doing what they love, really.
Fabulous. So you certainly understand the relocation challenges from a personal perspective, and I know, having worked with you, understand them from a professional perspective. One of the issues that I certainly have struggled with, and my background was that we didn't move overseas till I was 40, which was nearly 10 years ago. Big birthday next year, send cards. But I sort of was at a fairly senior level, and then suddenly like, ooh, and no employer support, and I was very lucky to keep freelancing for a little bit. And so I'm very lucky to have had something, even if it wasn't my ideal dream job, something at every point. But one of the things that I did struggle with, and have struggled with, was knowing how, with all those gaps and changes in my resume and experience, knowing how, when somebody said, well, what do you do? Or when I was trying to get back into work full time here in Houston, Texas, knowing how to tell my story and how to talk about my career. And is that something, what's your experience been on that? And what advice do you have for anybody who's sitting at home going, yes, I know exactly how that feels. I want to explore. And one of the things I've noticed, actually, just very topically in a couple of the expat groups online, people who are repatriating and having to go back to work, having maybe been at home raising kids, or just not able to work their location. And now they're back home, and they're like, I really want to go back, and I need to go back. And it's starting to tell that story in a way that employers go, oh yeah, I'd like to talk to you. So any advice for people at home that are going through that drama right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful question. It's a tough question, and it can really push some emotional buttons for people. I mean, on so many levels. I mean, from feeling like resentment for the situation they're in, or sometimes shame, even like feeling unhappy about the fact that they haven't been able to work, or feeling like they have to explain themselves. But the good news is none of that's necessary, because anyone who's in this situation is already someone who's experiencing things that many people are not. So you have to see that as an advantage and talk about it in a way that highlights the benefits that you've had from having that experience. So no matter what you're doing, I mean, raising kids, that's like the hardest job on the planet. So if you can do that, you can basically do any job. And if you do it in a foreign country with limited support, away from your family, you've just, upgraded your credentials there as well. So I think it's all about, the key is to two things. One is it depends who you're talking with, because if it's a friend or a new possible new friend, or you're interviewing for a job, then you'll say something slightly different. But in general, you have all your life skills. What are the things, like, what's your superpower? What are people always saying? Oh, Sarah, you're so good at XYZ. Because they tell you that. I know they do. And Yeah, they do. And so
Yeah.
if you just connect with that superpower, so maybe you're really good at connecting people, or maybe you're great with throwing events, or you're really good at numbers. You have some skills that you love that you're good at, and those can be applied in so many ways. So if you just start with a broader category of interest, that's
Mhm.
actually a more interesting conversation than I'm an accountant or I'm a massage therapist, because it's like, oh, what could you do with that? Or how have you used your super powers in the past in other jobs? So it opens up a big conversation.
Yeah, that's really helpful actually. And that certainly helps. That some of that thinking did help me when I was going back in terms of what are the things I've consistently been good at during my 10 years of wandering the world when I
Mm,
maybe haven't been working.
yeah.
That helped me kind of think about reframing the story and not thinking about saying. One thing that worked for me, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this, is that I realized that what I'd been in the past, I was also still. So
Say that again. That's really good.
what I'd been in the past, I was also still. So I didn't
Mm.
stop being a marketing and communications professional because I'd taken some time out.
I love that.
And so if you trained as an accountant or if you did whatever and that's your professional identity, I think it's okay to hold on to that if that's where you want to go
Absolutely.
back to and where
Mm-hmm.
you want to stay. And if not, then it's also okay to change that.
Mm.
And I love what you said about I think we sometimes as accompanying spouses feel we need to explain ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't think the person listening to us is expecting that explanation.
No, not at all. Not
You
at
know,
all.
I think we're justifying ourselves sometimes more than they are looking for us to do, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's so true what you said, because whatever experiences you've had or job titles you've had, no one can ever take that away. Just because you're
Yeah.
not doing that anymore doesn't mean that's not there. It's a skill set. And that's why I was focusing more on skills, because you can
Yeah.
translate those across several industries,
Yeah.
across paid versus volunteer. There's so many
Mhm.
aspects that um, you can find work with, that it doesn't have to be limited to any specific area.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. I think one of the other things that's very scary, I certainly find it quite intimidating, and I used to be a really like natural kind of networker person back in my
Yeah.
home environment. Was getting back out there and networking, and it is partly because people say, "What do you do?" and we're not sure how to answer.
Yes.
But I know that you
Yes.
have some really smart advice on approaching networking that I'd love you to share with people at home.
Sure. Well, the first thing is, don't call it networking.
Yeah,
If you don't like that
thank you.
word,
That's
just forget that word, call it
yeah,
connecting. I'm
yes,
going to go out connecting. I'm going on a
yeah,
connecting party, fest, mission, adventure. It's
yeah,
it's fun. It should be fun. I mean, go in with the idea of connecting. So one tip is, first of all, go not thinking what can I get for myself, but what can I
yeah,
give? Because
yeah.
you have something to give. Go with the intention to listen. Go with the intention to be helpful.
Hmm.
Go with curiosity, think, oh, what can I find out? So when you do that, you're taking all of the pressure off of yourself
Yeah.
and you're thinking about other people. So that's the first key. And then when you're there, if someone does ask you what you do, think about an answer that you will be happy to
Yeah.
give, so that you're not put on the spot. That's the trouble. People don't think in advance or prepare
Hmm.
something. There's nothing wrong with preparing an answer.
Yeah.
Um, and it doesn't have to be super specific. Again, if you just arrived in a new country, like let's just take Miriam, for example. If she shows up in Accra and
Hmm.
someone's like, what do you do? She could say, well, I just landed 2 weeks ago and I'm getting my bearings and it's so
Hmm.
exciting to be here. And that's enough to get a
Yeah.
conversation going. You don't have to
Yeah.
do the whole, well, I did this and I did that and I did that. And then before that, just enough to enter into the conversation terrain, and you should be okay.
Yeah.
And then another key, which goes along the lines of being curious about people, is you don't have to show up and try to be dazzling and interesting. You could be interested,
Yeah.
If you're interested and curious about other people, I promise you they will be like, oh, Sarah is the best conversationalist, because you just keep asking, tell me more
Yeah.
about that and tell me about that. So because people like to talk about themselves, so it's
Hmm.
great for introverts as well.
Yeah. And I think ironically is something that quite often at accompanying spouses we're good at in our personal lives,
Mm,
just getting out there and making friends because we have to, because we arrive in a location and don't know anybody. And so we force ourselves quite often out the door. I think we sometimes forget those skills when we put ourselves in a career context. And
Yeah.
I think we just lose our confidence. So I
Mm.
think, like you were saying about transferable skills, all those skills that you all have from making friends and like whatever place you end up, you find yourselves, I think it's good to think about those from a professional point of view, from a work point of
Mhm.
view. Um, and one of the things I love about when you talk about this, it's very much about building connections and relationships. It's
Yeah.
not everybody you meet is a potential employer, but they might know somebody
For
who
sure.
knows somebody who is,
Know
you know,
somebody?
knows somebody. You never know. You never know.
No,
Um,
that's a brilliant point because, and I talk about this a lot as well, that uh, relationships take time and they're
yeah.
built over time and they require building trust.
Hmm.
And so if you go somewhere and you meet people, follow up and start building. Don't just keep going and then you come home and you don't do anything, you don't check back and you're like, yeah, it doesn't work. Well, no, it doesn't work, because if you meet someone one time and never talk to him or see him or have any contact again, that's then you won't have any contact again. So it's super important. And I know I'm kind of a weirdo about this because I'm always promoting that people track these things, not in a CIA kind of way, but in a CRM kind of way. So,
Yeah.
and that's just, CRM is a fancy word for customer relationship management, but
Yeah.
all it means is just have a simple way to keep track of things. And of course, with the digital age, it's super easy.
Hmm.
HubSpot has a free system. It's very um, dense and deep, but you could just use the name and phone number and address function. Don't be overwhelmed by it. So HubSpot.com/CRM is
Yeah.
100% free online. And that way you can make notes about, I met Sarah and she likes dogs and
True.
so yeah, it's true. And then when you meet people, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a great memory. And I met yesterday, someone came up to me at an event and said, I met you briefly at a lunch 2 years ago. I'm like, your face looks really familiar, but I don't remember.
Hmm.
But you can go back and you find out, yeah, and you find their name. And so it's also good for helping you connect other people to each other.
Yeah.
So when you meet someone, you can say, oh, I know someone here. I don't remember, but let me go into my database. I know she was from Kuala Lumpur. You pull up everyone from Kuala Lumpur, you find her, and then you can make that connection. So keeping track of your relationships, your network, is just smart for personal reasons, for business reasons, and it makes your life easier.
Yeah. That's true. And I think that's also, maybe you meet somebody and you think, I'd love to work for their organization or I'd love to know more. I think don't be afraid to be a good friend to that person,
Oh,
in the sense of sending an article and say, hey, Stephanie, I read this and I thought about you. And,
for sure.
isn't that interesting? And the next thing you know, then maybe you're having a different conversation about, oh, you know about that stuff. Well, let's talk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's helpful if you do know what you want to get back into or what you want to do job wise, if it's
Mm-hmm.
really a career, and maybe you're just looking for something super casual, and that's okay too. That's
Mm-hmm.
completely fine. That's awesome and fine. And I got my first job in Houston, true story, because I did get some employee support, and I said I've been in Norway in my spare bedroom working for 3 years, and I've been in my pajamas, and nobody knew. And
I want
I don't
pictures.
I don't have any smart business clothes to go for interviews or anything like that. Like, that's a real thing. Like, come on, let's, as expats, we all know that's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you haven't been working, you just don't have the go for the interview clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I know someone, and she introduced me to a personal shopper who introduced me to the
Great.
woman who hired me because she was another client.
There you go.
And it was
It's
just because we'd hung out, and she said, what kind of stuff do you like to do? And I talked a little bit about what I'd done in the past. And she said, I know someone that you should meet.
mm-hmm.
And the next thing you know, I had a job.
That's fantastic.
I
It
was
really,
really lucky from that point of
yeah.
view.
Well, it is connections, and like you said before, people who know people. It's not always the
Yeah.
first connection that makes it happen. And if you really, and some people actually don't know what they want to do right now, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, you can just start, make a list of the ideas and people or industries or jobs that you think you
Yeah.
might be interested in, and then seek those people out and have conversations and kind of an informational interview, and just say, tell me about what you do and what you like about it, what you don't like about it, just to find out if it might be something you'd want to pursue. So it's, no matter which situation you're in, you know exactly what you want to do, or you're not sure, or you have absolutely no clue, You can say that. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
searching. Here's what I've done in the past, but I just don't know. And let people give you ideas.
Yeah. And I think sometimes just we, in the dual career context, put so much pressure on ourselves to like just rock up and have the perfect answer and the perfect resume and all the rest of it. And I I think what I love about what we've been talking about today is taking the pressure off yourself and just looking at it as a building relationships, getting to know people, asking the questions. A lot of people are really disarmed by you saying, I don't really know, and I'd love to learn from you because that would really help me. And people are like, oh, well, of course.
Yes, happy
Um,
to help.
and
Yeah.
the worst people are going to say is no, or they're never going to return your call or your email, and that's fine. Forget it, move on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think taking the pressure off yourself and being interested
Mm-hmm.
and not being embarrassed by the past or the resume or the, nobody needs to rock up and say, hey, I'm a trailing slide. Nobody should say that anyway, actually.
No.
But
Well, and it's so you're so much more than that. And I mean, again, if you're in this situation that you have um, are moving around this world
mhm,
with a family, you're already your skills and your
yeah,
experiences are so diverse and different than so many other people. It's an asset.
yeah,
That just reminds me. I just thought of how recently, which is very topical, Greta talking about the
mhm,
climate. That she talks about her Asperger's as a gift.
yeah,
She's like, it's awesome. It's a fantastic thing. And she really believes that. And I believe it. And you see her, what she's doing, and you
yeah,
believe it too. So, whatever's happening with you, personally, you've gotten to this place. You're
mhm,
alive. You've made it. You've got
yes,
more stories to tell. So it's like you have gifts, you have skills. You may not have, thought about them deeply enough to realize that, but 100% you've got
yeah,
something that will be so helpful that would help other people and you would enjoy doing yourself and be good
yeah,
at.
that's true. Absolutely. And I, I'm just going to mention one of my pet peeves is never say you just volunteered because it's
Oh,
so much more than that. And particularly if you gain skills or have professional,
yes.
anything that you did that you may parlay into a job,
Yeah.
um, then never diminish that.
No.
Stephanie knows this. I'm very passionate about volunteering, and
Mm-hmm.
I got an amazing job with an organization that I volunteered with for. I don't know if I've been here 3 years. I think I was probably volunteer with them for 3 years
Yeah.
before 3 or 4 years, and then they said, "Please come work for us full time." And now that I run my own business, they're one of my clients, and I love them.
Yeah.
Be very very sad to leave them when we move again. Um, but don't be afraid
Mm.
to use that as part of your resume and to be proud of it. Um,
Yes.
because
Volunteering is amazing.
yeah, and so often people are impressed by it. And my experience has also been that people are fascinated if you're talking to a local employer. They're kind of fascinated by your expat life a little bit.
Oh, 100%. Again, I mean, it's for some people, it's kind of a fantasy, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I've known people who have never left their state. Not a
Yep.
lot, but a few. I mean, so to go around the whole world, it is kind of people get excited. You live through them vicariously.
Yeah.
Just to go back to what you said, I would suggest just delete the word just. So not even just
Yeah.
volunteering, just
Never say
whatever.
just.
Just get
Yeah.
rid of the whole word.
Yeah.
Delete that word from your vocabulary and um, say what you do, and then be quiet and let the next person say. You don't, again, back to the explaining. You don't have to explain anything. Just
Yeah.
say whatever is on your mind at that moment.
Yeah.
You can also say, "I'm a seeker."
Yeah. I'm looking.
That opens up a whole world of conversations. You can go anywhere with that.
Mysterious. Yes. And I don't think either of us are diminishing how hard this can be if you're in a
Oh
company size.
no,
I mean,
it's
it's
very
really
hard.
difficult. It's very hard. But that is hopefully, part of what makes us employable is that we can do hard things. As
Exactly.
as Glennon Doyle would say, we can do hard
Yes,
things.
we can do hard things.
We can do hard things.
That's a beautiful use of that statement. She talks about it in the context of her family, which all of the families have that as well. But
Yeah.
add on Lennon's life and then move it around the world a whole bunch.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
it's way harder, It's the hard thing on top of the hard thing. So
Yeah.
yes.
And there's always going to be employers who are going to look at you and go, yeah, you'll be gone in a couple of years because your spouse's, your partner's job will take you
Hmm.
elsewhere. And in my experience, for every one of those I've met, I've eventually met another one who went, I'd rather have you for whatever time I can get you
Exactly.
than not have you at all.
Exactly.
And sometimes it takes a lot longer to find those people, and it is very demoralizing.
Mm.
And it can be really, I mean, I certainly had times where I was like, that's it, I'm never going to work again. And I just give this up completely and retire and look after puppies. But it is worth kind of just keeping going, because those people are hopefully out there. And if not, you can hopefully do your own thing and build your own revenue generator or business, or find the thing that makes you happy and find people that want to do it with you. And to summarize, I guess our conversation is, don't feel you just have to justify. Find a story that you want to tell about yourself. You've got lots of skills, you just maybe don't know what they are, and it is worth sitting down and actually thinking about those, and thinking of all the things that you have gained in your globally mobile life, whether you were working or not. And be curious and open and interested and let other people do the work a little bit.
Yeah.
What else did we say that I should recap? I think be confident. Quit apologizing. You're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe a kind of summary or an underlying theme of all those things you said is just to remember, not just, but to remember that you really have extensive skills and experience, and that are very valuable, extremely valuable, and to value that for yourself, and to know that there is a way that you can use those skills, and people are happy to help you figure that out. And you're not alone, and you have a lot to offer. And it's a journey, it's a process, and everything hinges on building these relationships. So be open, be helpful, be willing, and we're all here for you.
Yes, and I think what's really exciting is that when I started, I know when we started out, the same thing, moving, there weren't, there wasn't the kind of resource. You can't go to a website like, I couldn't find a website like Stephanie's that would give me advice about all these kinds of things. And there's so many more resources now starting to come through. And yes, there is still a lot more to be done to support accompanying partners' careers and ambitions. But I think we're in a better place now than we were years ago. And I think
sorry, I got so excited.
Go ahead.
I could not agree more. I mean, that's a really good point, that the technology has advanced so much now, that for anyone out there who, hopefully you're all on LinkedIn. Let me just get that out of the way. If you're not, get on. And because you can build your personal brand on your platform from there. You can blog from there. They have LinkedIn Publisher /Pulse. So get on there first. But in addition to that, you can also begin to build your personal brand, no matter what you're doing, even if you have no clue what you're doing, by putting up a quick WordPress website or a Squarespace website. Find some colors you like, fonts you like well enough, and just start writing or start vlogging, or whatever it is you're interested in. You can build your brand from any situation, any place, as long as you have an internet connection. I know that's hard for some people in some places, but for the most part, it's so much easier to start now. So begin.
Yes, do something, and just be prepared to be in it for the long haul. And I love that. That's a really great suggestion, that even if you're not sure 100% what area you need to be in, you can still talk about your skills, and you can still talk about your experiences, and you can still, that's a great way to connect with other people as well, who maybe can offer you advice, or can direct you to programs that might help you, or to resources that might help you think about what you want to do next. Or that, can connect you to other people who will support you and help you on the journey. So any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Well, the last thought would just be to take action. So don't wait. That's the one tip I'm giving people all the time. Is they say, well, should I wait till this happens? So no, don't wait for anything. Take action, because it's actually, when you take action, it creates momentum, and it's also how you learn. So take that action that you've been thinking about. Take it now.
Yes. And my 2 top tips are, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's going to happen. It's okay. It's all right. And most people are really forgiving. And the other thing is, if there is something that you really want, and I was just sharing a story about this, Stephanie, before we went on camera, is don't be afraid to go and say to someone, I really want to work for you. I really want to work with you. I really want to do whatever you're doing, volunteer with you, get involved in whatever project that is. And you'd be amazed. So few people do that, and it's like the most flattering thing. And I've only done that a couple of times, but it was somebody or an organization that I really, really passionately wanted to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And on both occasions they said yes. So do not be afraid to go, I would be good for you.
Mm-hmm.
We could do good things together.
Yes, I love it.
Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because like I said, the worst that they can, you lick your wounds for a little bit if it doesn't work out, and then you move on to the next thing.
If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Exactly. So be confident in your own experience and skills, and hopefully get out there and build some relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Stephanie, thank you. Always a pleasure to speak with you and spend time with you. And I hope maybe this has encouraged some people at home who are trying to get back into work or trying to rebuild their career, trying to think about first steps after how many years of moving. More of this content to come soon with lots of different perspectives. So hopefully helpful over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Sarah.
All right. And I will post Stephanie's I'll tag her in the social media. So if you do want to hop on her website and get more of her content or ask her questions,
come on over.
She'd be very happy to chat with you, I'm sure. All right.
Sam.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.